Before we proceed to public comment, I want to begin by sharing a bit about what brings us here today, where we've been, where we are currently, and where we're headed. The Pacific Palisades was one of the most beautiful, unique, vibrant, engaged communities anywhere in the city. If you were lucky enough to spend time there, you know how special it was. A perfect hamlet resting on the bluffs of the Pacific, rising towards the Santa Monica Mountains, with 6 major canyons winding their way back to the sea. Founded in the 1920s, this tight-knit community grew from 100 homes in 1925 to well over 10,000 as of last year. 1 month ago, on January 7th, a fire broke out in Palisades Highlands. Fueled by hurricane-level winds and endless fuel from dry brush and vegetation on the hillsides, the fire quickly grew into the largest in the history of Los Angeles. The fire burned over 23,000 acres, more than twice the size of Manhattan, and destroyed almost 7,000 structures, most of which were people's homes. Overnight, the entire community burned to the ground. Our LAFD was joined by our mutual aid partners from the state and neighboring counties and cities, and eventually from all over the country and world. In total, over 5,500 firefighters and emergency personnel fought side by side in a relentless effort to save lives and property. At the onset of the fire, the city responded with urgency. Within minutes, our heroic firefighters and first responders were on the front lines, battling a raging wildfire that tore through the Palisades, destroying everything in its path. As the day wore on and the wind got worse, air assets were grounded, and our firefighters were left to fight with just engines and hydrants. And we've all heard about what happened with the water. We also had major challenges with communications and evacuation gridlock. Colleagues, you probably already saw the LA Times report on the evacuation, and if you haven't, you need to. These challenges were well known before this most recent fire because we see the same problems every time there's an evacuation in this area. I know we all have questions. What went right? What went wrong? And what our city is going to do to prevent this same chaotic devastation from playing again somewhere else. As you all know, there are multiple investigations and incident reviews underway, and I look forward to delving into those topics when the time comes, because our residents deserve answers about what happened. The battle didn't stop with the flames. Our city's workforce mobilized immediately. LAPD, Public Works, Street Services, Engineering, LA Sand, DOT, and the Department of Water and Power deployed hundreds of workers to stabilize our streets, clear debris, restore power, and begin the monumental task of rebuilding. For me and my team, there was no wasted time. Our focus turned immediately to recovery. Over the past month, every one of our council colleagues joined me in introducing bold, decisive legislation to protect displaced residents and small businesses, fast-track rebuilding, and secure every dollar of state and federal money available. Together, we put forward 43 pieces of urgent legislation designed to cut through bureaucracy, unlock emergency funding, shield residents from price gouging, and protect homeowners from predatory practices. At the same time, we are driving major investments in fire safety infrastructure, smarter recovery policies, and real protections for renters and businesses fighting to get back on their feet. Because this isn't just about recovering what we lost. It's about rebuilding stronger, smarter, and safer. And today in this committee, we'll begin to lay the foundation for that future. The responsibility to help our city recover and rebuild is immense, I want to thank Council President Harris Dawson for helping me create this committee so we, as a council, can rise to the occasion. We've assembled an incredible team on this committee to take on the immense challenge before us. Each of you brings your own unique perspective and set of skills to the committee. Councilwoman Rodriguez, as the daughter of an LA City firefighter, you know firsthand the importance of supporting and adequately funding our police and fire departments. It's been an honor to fight alongside you these last 2 budget cycles to increase funding for LAFD. In particular, I want to commend you for getting funding for LAFD Wildland Hand Crews. Since the beginning of your tenure representing the 7th District, your leadership has carried your district through wildfires that occur on almost a yearly basis, the most recent being the Hearst Fire, which hit the Sylmar community last month. You've been a tireless advocate for emergency preparedness and in particular, improving our city's emergency preparedness plans for large animals and equine communities. Your eye for process and making our city more efficient is going to be critical, especially as we move into the rebuilding phase of our recovery. Thank you for stepping up and serving on this committee. Councilmember Nazarian, you bring a wealth of legislative experience in government budgeting, transportation, statewide emergency response, and infrastructure investments, making you uniquely suited to help lead our recovery efforts. Your deep understanding of state and local policy will be invaluable. During your tenure in the California State Assembly, you were instrumental in securing critical funding for public safety improvements, disaster preparedness, and essential infrastructure projects, the very type of long-term investments that are going to be necessary for LA as we navigate the recovery. Councilmember Soto Martinez, you've dedicated your entire career to advocating for working families, economic justice, and equitable access to resources, making your perspective particularly vital as we address the long-term recovery needs of Angelenos, not only impacted by the Palisades fire, but also the Eaton fire. Your deep experience in labor rights and housing advocacy will ensure that this recovery is not just about rebuilding infrastructure, but about restoring livelihoods, stabilizing families, and making sure no one is left behind in the process. Your commitment to environmental justice aligns with the urgent need to ensure that rebuilding efforts incorporate sustainability, fire resilience, and public health protections. Councilmember McCosker, you're no stranger to crisis. You served as Chief of Staff for Mayor Jim Hahn during the September 11th attacks, a tragic event that completely reshaped our own city's emergency responses. You come from a long line of firefighters. Generations of McCoskers have served our very own LAFD. You not only maintain unwavering commitment to supporting the fire department, but you also lead the Personnel Committee, which will be responsible for helping to fill those positions necessary to ensure a complete recovery. And I should just add, all of these members readily provided their staff to help my office in the immediate aftermath of the fire, answering our phones, organizing donations, and lending us their cleanup crews so that we could keep basic operations happening around CD11. We're having this first meeting of our committee here at City Hall because of the urgency of us to meet as soon as possible, but I look forward to taking these meetings directly into the community. I know there are a lot of issues that we as a committee want to dig into. This first meeting is going to focus on the immediate needs of the Palisades community and the city as we respond to the fires. Insurance, debris removal, water quality and electricity, city department staffing, the city's budget, and the lessons we can learn from the communities who have seen devastation like this before. In our future meetings, I'm going to focus on rebuilding. We'll bring in our partners from the mayor's office and the mayor's recovery czar, Steve Soberoff. We'll hear from our library department and Recs and Parks about the remediation and reconstruction of city facilities. And we'll have Bureau of Street Lighting tell us about getting the lights back up. And we'll talk to Streets LA about regrowing and replanting our street trees, and so much more. Colleagues, I know we have a lot of items on our agenda today, and I want to move through them efficiently. So we'll hear updates from all of the departments and the agencies at the top of the item and then get into questions. For the sake of efficiency, I'm going to ask that we now proceed directly into our meeting, which brings us to public comment. We have a lot of people here today, many residents and folks who have been impacted by the fires. I suspect a lot of you have never been to a council or a committee meeting, so the format on how we conduct meetings and how we do public comment may feel a little strange. As an elected body subject to the Brown Act, we have a lot of rules and procedures that we have to follow. Each of you are going to be given 2 minutes to speak on the agenda items, which cover a wide array of topics related to the fires. You get to talk to us, but we don't get to speak directly back to you. But my colleagues and I are listening, and my team and I are taking down notes of what you share, your experiences, your questions and concerns, and the visions that you have for the community that we're going to rebuild together. So with that, members of the public wishing to give public comment should sign up at the kiosk in the back. Since this is a special meeting, there is no general public comment, but you will be given up to 2 minutes for multiple items on the agenda. So with that, I'm going to call a few names